Countdown to the new year. That's next on City Corner. And welcome to City Corner. Later in the program, we're going to have some tips on how to have a healthy, happy, mentally happy New Year, which is pretty important. But first, we begin with St. Louis's biggest and most creative New Year's Eve celebration. That's First Night, and we want to introduce you to Travis Hauser. Hi, Travis. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're going to be talking later, as I said, about how to be mentally healthy in the new year, things like resolutions. So I'm just curious to get things started. Are you one of these people that makes New Year's resolutions?
You know, typically I don't, and I think the last one I made was to not buy a new pair of shoes for 6 months. And I wasn't successful, so I decided that I'm not going to stick with it.
That's the oddest New Year's resolution I've ever heard.
Well, if you have a shoe problem, you know, I mean.
Usually it's like, lose 5 or 10 pounds, and, by January 4th, that's gone. So
That's true.
Well, we'll get some tips about that. But let's talk about First Night. First Night has quite a history. The concept started somewhere else, but St. Louis has been doing it for quite some time.
Yeah, we've been doing it for about 20 years. It's been in St. Louis for 20 years, and it's been in Grand Center this will be our 11th year in Grand Center. So it's been around for a while.
And is it really the largest, most creative New Year's celebration around?
Well, I would like to believe it is. It is, we can most definitely say it's the largest. It's a very large scale New Year's Eve celebration.
We have a little video that might just prove that point. Why don't we take a look at that?
I think it will.
First Night in Grand Center is St. Louis's New Year's Eve celebration. We're talking with Travis Hauser about that. Of course, it's coming up. It'll be here before you know it. And the video really gave a pretty good overview of what's happening, which is a lot. Everything from fireworks, but let me go back and say that it's not only a celebration, am I right, of New Year's, but it's also really a celebration of the arts in St. Louis.
Yeah, it definitely is. We have a really diverse collection of arts that are expressed and presented at the festival. So it really shows what we have to offer in the region.
Travis, you're a director of events and theaters for Grand Center, Inc.
Mm-hmm.
So this project is part of what Grand Center does. Maybe give us just a little overview. And I know we had Vince Shainwell on a few months ago.
Yeah, so part of what we want to do at Grand Center is make sure that people come down to Grand Center and they're aware of what we have to offer. So a big part of what First Night does is it actually shows people a lot of venues and a lot of organizations that are inside of Grand Center that they may not know about. So with first night, you can come down with one pass and get into over a dozen venues that maybe you haven't seen before. So it really highlights the neighborhood.
It's a great neighborhood. You know, my day job is St. Louis Public Radio, and we have a new home there. And I have really enjoyed, you know, I've been around St. Louis for a long time, but I'd go to Grand Center, go to the Fox or something and leave, or go to Pell Hall. But now that I'm there on a daily basis, I've really enjoyed the neighborhood.
That's great. And we really enjoy you guys being there, too.
Right? Hey, listen, you have a theme every year, and this year's is Traveling Circus.
That's right.
So talk about that, and how'd you come up with that?
So the way we did it this year, we tried it last year, we decided to do it again this year, is we actually had the public choose the theme of the festival. So we held a competition where people could submit their themes. They had to give a little bit of a description as to what they thought the theme, what that theme would mean. And then we compiled them, and then we narrowed it down to 4, and then we let the public vote through the internet and other means on what they thought should be the theme. So this was really chosen by the public. We didn't choose this in the office. The public voted for Traveling Circus.
Well, you have a kind of an important announcement to make. I'm a big fan of Circus Flora, which is held outside of Pell Hall every year in Grand Center, and there's a tie-in there.
Yeah, there is. So since it's Traveling Circus and Circus Flora is our neighborhood circus, we partnered up with them, and we're actually going to bring in the Flying Wallendas, and they're going to do a high wire act on Grand, so that'll be pretty exciting.
They're incredible. I don't know how they'll do it there, but you know, they don't use a net.
No, exactly. I know. So it will be exciting to see for sure.
Wow. Let's go over some of the basics. So this is New Year's Eve. Hours are 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Are there certain things going on at certain times? What do we need to know about that?
Sure. Like you said, it's 6 to midnight, so we have 2 firework displays. We have one at 9 o'clock and one at midnight. The one at 9 o'clock really is intended for those families that want to get their kids home and in bed before midnight. But those are kind of 2 key times to be down there. Outside, there's all kinds of free entertainment. The Flying Wallendas and the fireworks, all of that stuff is free. You can come down. But in order to go into the venues, you buy a button, and you can get those on our website or other places. But the fireworks and then all those programs, all those venues are really programmed for the whole evening. So.
It's a term we use a lot, you know, a family type event, and it is. Alcohol-free is an important thing to know about ahead of time.
That's right, exactly. It is an alcohol-free event. That's part of first night. It's a rule that we have to abide by in order to produce the first night. So it is alcohol-free.
What kind of numbers do you draw? Are you able to take a head count?
Yeah, we are. So last year we had right at 25,000 people. So
wow.
It's a big crowd. We typically expect 20 to 25,000 people. So it's a large event.
How about performers?
Performers, we have over 60 individual performances. I don't know what that breaks down into individual performers, but there are over 60 performances within the night. So,
could you be specific, Travis, maybe give us some idea? Now, there are going to be activities between 6 and midnight, both inside venues, as you said, and outside. What are some of the things we can expect? What are some of your favorites, maybe?
Yeah, some of my favorites is one group that I'm excited about this year is there's a group, it's a Johnny Cash cover band. They'll be playing inside of the Sheldon. They're usually pretty entertaining to see, but I really like the diversity in music that we have. So you can see from jazz to blues to large choirs. I mean, there's a really diverse selection of music to see, but then we also have some theater performances, magicians. This year we have Juggling Jeff has this group that he put together, and they do kind of amazing human feats to fit in with the circus theme, so that'll be pretty entertaining. They'll be in the Grandel Theater, but there's a vast array of things.
And there are things that kids like too, like storytelling and face painting.
Yeah, in Bush Student Center on the SLU's campus, we really have a lot of kids' activities inside of there. They can go in and they can do make and take projects, so we'll have tables of crafts and things like that, and maybe they'll make a mask or something like that they can walk away with. But then there's storytellers and magicians and face painting and a whole slew of things for the kids to do.
And the adults do face painting? I'm just curious.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do. It's true.
Also, you're recognizing the Emancipation Proclamation?
Yeah, that's a new thing this year, and it's pretty exciting. So this New Year's Eve will be the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. And we have partnered with some of the local churches in our neighborhood, and we're going to produce a show that will basically be, it's called a night watch service, and essentially what it is it will kind of educate people as to what it was like 150 years ago, before the Emancipation Proclamation passed. And for slavery, they would sit around and they waited that evening to see if they were potentially free in the morning. And then the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, and then it kind of dispersed from there. So it'll be an entertainment show that will basically highlight what this would have been like 150 years ago.
One of the things I think is really neat that people have a chance to get rid of all their regrets for the past year, right?
They do. So we always have kind of a, I guess you could call a ceremony or a procedure as to how you get rid of your regrets and how you place your wishes for the incoming year. This year you'll be able to just burn your regrets. We'll have some fire pits around, and you'll have a little stick that you can put your regret on, and you burn it in a fire, and it's gone. And then with our wishes, we're going to have a fortune teller that will be sitting there, and she'll have a very large globe that you can, crystal ball that you can write down your wish, and you put it in the crystal ball, and you hope that it comes true the next year.
I love the burning your regrets idea. If only it were that easy.
Yeah, well, it is on first night, so it is.
What should people know? We want to talk a little bit about the cost, and it's important to get tickets ahead of time, am I right?
Yeah, it is. It will save you a lot of time if you get tickets ahead of time. So we're lucky that we've partnered with Dierbergs and Schnucks, so the buttons will be on sale at all of the Dierbergs locations. There's select Schnucks locations that you can find them on our website. And if you buy your button in advance, they're $10 for adults and $5 for kids, and if you buy them the night of, they're $12 for adults and $6 for kids. So there's a financial incentive to buy them early, but it'll also save you from waiting in line. So if you get them early, you really don't have to wait in line, and you can go directly to shows.
But if worst comes to worst, just show up at the last minute.
Exactly,
Okay.
and we'll have buttons there. So.
All right, we'll have some contact information come up on the screen. Travis, thanks so much for joining us today. It promises to be an exciting event, and we're so glad that the Grand Center, Inc. puts it all together. So
yeah, thanks
give
for
our
having
regards
me.
to everybody there for us, would you?
Thank you, I will.
All right, when we come back, some tips for mentally surviving the holidays. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
When life's this hard, graduating can be even harder. But you can help Jose and the students in your community make it through by visiting boostup.org.
Hey St. Louis, I'm Cara Kay. Keep it right here on STL TV.
Over 13 million people are affected by famine, war, and drought in the Horn of Africa.
Make a simple text donation of $10.
But do more than donate. Forward the facts.
I'm Steve Potter, and welcome back to City Corner. Well, a lot of people suffer anxiety at the beginning of a new year. Are you one of them? Well, we've got some advice. Please welcome licensed clinical social worker Sylvia Nessenboim. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
You know, we were talking earlier in the first segment of the show about making New Year's resolutions. Well, you're a professional. Do you make resolutions?
Well, I stopped making resolutions. I make plans. And I think Travis's example of his resolution not to buy a pair of shoes, I think was a perfect example.
Because that's one you can keep?
Well, because just making a resolution is going to guarantee that it's not going to happen. You have to make a plan around it and a structure to really support you being successful with that.
Well, I don't think I ever made a New Year's resolution that I kept.
Yeah.
So I haven't made one in something like 25 years.
Well, I'll tell you the most recent statistics that I found, and people run around thinking everybody makes New Year's resolutions. Well, it turns out that just about 45% of people make them, and 8% of that 45% succeed.
Isn't that interesting?
75% don't.
Well, usually you set yourself up, don't you, like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it. And you just dive into it, and you start your first day, and you said by January 4th, you've already forgotten that you made that resolution. So there are a couple things that you can put in place that will further support you.
And see, that just makes it work, and I want to hear about that, but setting yourself up for disaster really backfires, because then after you fail, then you beat yourself up for it.
Right, right. And why do you think 45% of people only do resolutions? Because they were part of the 45% or the 80% that used to do them, and they no longer do them, just like Travis.
Okay, but it seems like the idea of having a resolution is a good one. If you want to improve your life, if there's something you want to achieve or accomplish,
right.
It seems like a symbolic time of the year that if you can make a good one, stick to it, it would be a good thing.
Right. Right. And the types of resolutions that most people make either have to do with self-improvement, I want to lose weight. They may have to do with I want to organize my house or just organize my office, get my desk straightened up and have a system in place. Let's see, it's, take a class, I want to better myself. So it's organizing, it's losing weight, and it's, bettering myself in a certain way. Maybe.
Okay. So do you have any general guidelines you could give us on choosing a realistic resolution? Because I guess realistic is the key to it.
It is the key term. And what people say is you want to have a SMART focus. So S being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and there's a timetable. So having something that I just want to lose weight doesn't do it. But if I want to try to work out 3 days a week and limit my food and weigh myself on a weekly basis and have a partner in this, so have someone who helps me stay accountable, that's a really important piece.
So maybe two people making the same resolution together would be helpful, perhaps.
Excuse me?
Two people making the same resolution together might be helpful.
Right,
Do it as a
that may
team.
be helpful, yeah. But sometimes you can just ask a friend or a family member or a coach, counselor, to be in touch with you on a regular basis, just asking you how you're doing. So you're going to get a call from your closest friend saying, so how'd you do this week, Steve? And that just helps you stay accountable. It's like the weigh-in at Weight Watchers, and it helps you stay accountable.
Is there any advantage to letting yourself cheat a little bit along the way?
Yeah, and actually I've heard that there are meal programs now that say you do it straight for 6 days and 7 days you do what you want, knowing that a person can hold on for 6 days, knowing that they're going to have their, they're not Diet Coke, they're real Coke, and some ice cream after dinner 1 day a week, and they can do that. But it's real important to know that a lapse is different than a relapse. Sometimes you slip up and you have a big meal and you didn't mean to do it, and as long as you get back on board again and you recommit and you acknowledge what you did but you recommit, as opposed to beating yourself up and saying I blew it, that's it, I'm not going to, and just seeing that slip as, the way the future's going to be, and I'm not going to be able to hold on to this resolution.
People are different, they're different personality types. I wonder if just depending on how your brain is wired, if some people just have an easier time than other people.
I think some people have an easier time dealing with structure, and it's the structure that you put in place that I think helps you. But something that I've also learned that I think is amazing, people say that body language really reflects how you feel. Well, how you feel is often affected by your body language. So if you do yay, success, that standing, what we do when we win a race or when we've gotten an award and you celebrate, that sends signals to your brain. It really kind of changes your brain chemistry so that you feel more optimistic and you feel more powerful.
Does self-confidence have anything to do with your success?
Oh yeah. A positive brain, positive outlook, optimistic, perspective totally helps you maintain yourself, because it's not so hard to be day one, week one of a resolution. It's when it gets tough. It's when it gets boring. It's when your weight plateaus, or when maintaining your desk, you've already had a cycle where now all your bills have come in and your desk is messy again. How do you deal with the fact that you're going to have some kind of setback? So feeling optimistic says, yeah, I can accomplish it. I can work through that.
I wonder if we're new at resolutions, if we should start with easy ones and maybe every year make it a little more challenging.
Well, success is built on success, that's for sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about just anxiety in general. New Year's is just a day. It's just a day on a calendar. But there is a psychological impact to people. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can explain it. The beginning of a new year seems to mean something, and I guess, we're the ones that make it mean something.
Yeah, and it may mean a lot of things, but the interesting thing about anxiety is it's a future state of mind. And there was a really wonderful French philosopher, and I use this all the time. He said, many terrible misfortunes I've experienced many terrible misfortunes in my life, many of which never happened. And so the whole idea being that if you're living in a state of anxiety for what might be, and what might be might never happen, you've already allowed that anxiety and that reality that doesn't ever come to fruition be part of who you are. So knowing that if you can manage to stay in the present and do the best you can to kind of manage the situation, the anxiety about not managing is really kind of put off. So staying in the present, that like kind of breathing in, breathing out when you feel yourself kind of experiencing what you feel physically when you start getting anxious, are just simple, obvious things to do, but they really help if you kind of keep them kind of in your pocket all the time to draw
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes I think we're our own worst enemies. If I start, I don't think I'm a super worrywart, but I have my moments. Mm-hmm. And when I start stressing, thinking about things, it's just like what you're saying. It's things in the future, and then A leads to B, and B leads to C. Then I think about D, E, and F, and then G.
Right.
And if I was more concentrated on doing some activity that day, I wouldn't be focusing like that.
Right. And it's also, if you can challenge that thought and say, but really, when's the last time I had the family over and the food burned? Or when's the last time, the disaster really never happened, but you're operating as if, what if it did? So it's like challenging that fear that you have that is the basis of that anxiety.
You brought up something that I think is really interesting. You mentioned like the family meal. Don't you know people that they sort of sabotage things, like they concentrate on the negative, like they're going to have the family together and it's always, they can't just like have a party and relax and let it go. It's always one worry after another, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having the party.
Right, and someone who brings in that kind of anxiety, it's catching. People pick up on it.
It spreads.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like the flu.
Right.
Sort of. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a licensed clinical social worker. I think a big part of your practice deals with aging issues.
Aging. I do a lot of work with the adult children of older parents, helping them figure out what role they play and helping their parents stay as independent as possible. I do work directly with older adults, but the focus, the larger part is working with their adult children or their spouses and helping them cope with disability and loss.
And tell me about the book you wrote.
The book I wrote, it's called The Positive Interactions Program. It's a book I wrote with a colleague in 1998. Actually, 1988, we self-published. 1998, it was picked up by a publishing company. It was helping professionals who worked with the elderly who suffer from Alzheimer's disease engage with them in a way that the person with the dementia comes out of that activity feeling good about themselves. And it came from a place where in the early 80s, when I got into the field of aging, Fisher-Price toys and Play-Doh and crayons were kind of the activity supplies for dealing with the elderly. And it was like so insulting. We were trying to figure out another way to work with people who were limited, but to respect the fact that they were adults, not children, and to help them see that there still were many things that they could do. So it was a focus on helping professionals work with clients who had dementia.
And Sylvia, when you're talking about working with people and their aging parents. I mean, that's the way it's going these days. I mean, with our aging population, there are more and more of us are getting older all the time.
That's right, that's right. And it's great that we're having this conversation now, because probably families will be coming together toward the end of the year around Christmas and the holidays. And now's a good time for the adult kids and their parents to begin to talk about what time they want to spend in their visit, really talking about some important things and some important
Let's talk
plans.
about that for a second. How do you handle that boy? You're coming home for the holidays. You know, maybe you don't live in the same town with your parents, and maybe you only see them a couple times a year or once a year at this time of year. So here you come, and everybody's around, but this might be the one chance that you can really maybe have some private time with mom or dad to talk about maybe some of the issues that you mentioned. How do you approach that? Because now some older people might be a little defensive about it.
Yeah, you know, the thing that I've learned the most, and probably the biggest piece of advice that I do give adult kids related to dealing with their parents, is instead of thinking you know, be curious. Just start asking questions that maybe relate to something you saw on the news. If there was an accident and it was an older driver, what did you see that? You know, that news report. What do you think about that? Being curious and getting your parents' input is the beginning of opening up the conversation, so the parents don't feel that the kids are imposing or telling them what to do. That's the one thing that will put that wall up and make parents really be careful and resistant and not want to talk with the kids.
And if all goes up, maybe back off and try it later?
Back off.
Don't push it.
Don't push it. Yeah, don't push it.
Well,
if you can help. Because sometimes the decisions end up being made in a crisis, and then you've got to make a decision, and there really isn't a conversation to be had. At that point, someone's got to make a decision, which is why knowing what your parents would want is so important.
Well, Sylvia Nesson-Boyum, thank you so much, and I know we're going to have a great holiday, and you've given some great advice. I'm going to think about a resolution this year.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And we'll have some
you.
contact information for you coming up if people want to pursue this any further.
Thank you very much.
So we hope everybody has a great new year. I'm Steve Potter. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.